You ever see a company announce new hardware and immediately feel like something's just off? Like the idea is cool, the branding is slick, but the whole thing feels a little undercooked. Yeah, that's the rebooted Steam machine. Valve finally did it. The Steam machine is real again, and it is mid. Not terrible, not amazing. Just aggressively, unapologetically mid. This thing is clearly aimed at Steam Deck owners who want to upgrade into real PC gaming without touching a screwdriver or installing their own Linux distribution. And that's fine. But when the trailer starts throwing around 4K 60 frames per second like it's no big deal, while the actual hardware starts sweating at smooth 1080p in modern games, that's when you realize something. This is what happens when a multi-billion-dollar corporation tries to do a PC enthusiast job. What Valve has built is basically a stylish mini PC, a small box with a mobile CPU, a mobile GPU, and a Linux-based front end designed for couch gaming. It's basically a Steam Deck that went through puberty and moved into its first apartment. And while there's nothing wrong with that, the performance expectations they're setting are optimistic. The GPU inside this thing is an RDNA 3 mobile chip with around 1700 shaders and 8 GB of VRAM. Translation, it's roughly equivalent to a Radeon 7 600M, decent for its size, good for esports, fine for older games, but not a 4K monster, not even a guaranteed 1080p monster for new AAA releases. To put it simply, the Steam machine can run the most played list on Steam with no issue. It can handle competitive shooters and lighter single-player titles. But when you step into modern, open-world, texture-heavy games, that 8 GB VRAM limit is going to get punched directly in the face, and the 6-core mobile CPU isn't helping either. It's probably a Ryzen 5 equivalent, with low clocks and small cache, something around 16 megabytes of L3 cache. For comparison, AMD's X3D chips have 128 megabytes, that's 8 times more. So when a trailer claims 4K 60, but the CPU is already struggling to maintain smooth frame pacing in complex modern games, you start seeing the limits pretty fast. And because Valve will likely never build a higher-end version, someone else did, a Steam Machine Pro. The hypothetical version Valve won't make, but absolutely should. The heart of that system is a Minis Forum BD790i X3D motherboard with a Ryzen 9 7945 X3D. 16 cores, 32 threads, and 128 megabytes of cache. It's one of the strongest mobile CPUs on the market, and already miles ahead of anything Valve is using. 64 gigabytes of DDR5 memory were included, mostly because they were already available from an earlier build. Definitely overkill, but still an option. The graphics card chosen was the Radeon 7900 XT, still RDNA3, but now with 20 gigabytes of VRAM and more than 5,000 compute shaders. This GPU absolutely demolishes the hardware in the actual Steam machine. Everything was packed into a compact Fractal Ridge ITX case, powered by an 850-watt power supply. The total build cost, around £1,700, or roughly $2,000. Expensive, yes, but this is what a true Steam Machine Pro would look like. Small, powerful, and fully capable of high-end gaming. Now, how does it actually perform? Let's start with the game Valve used heavily in its trailer, Black Myth: Wukong. Even the Pro build can't run this game at native 4K on cinematic settings. That's not a Steam machine problem, that's just how demanding the game is. Native 4K hovers in the 20s and 30s. Dropping to high gets you into smoother territory, but you still need upscaling. In fact, you need to drop the internal resolution to the performance preset, which renders the game at 1080. The Steam machine, with 1/3 the GPU power and 1/4 the VRAM. it's not hitting anything close to that marketing promise. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is another example. Under ByteSyzed OS, a Fedora-based system using the Steam OS interface, the game forces a special Steam Deck texture mode. This massively reduces VRAM usage, but also crushes texture quality. Even on the highest preset, rocks, walls, and clothing look blurry. The frame rate is fine, usually in the 60s and 70s, but this isn't representative of the real game, and the Steam machine will likely be locked to similar restrictions. Spider-Man 2 is both CPU heavy and VRAM heavy. The Pro system handles it well at 4K, with quality upscaling. You get mid-60s, low 70s, with dips into the 50s in certain parts. The official Steam machine, with 8 GB of VRAM, with a low cache 6-core mobile processor, it's going to struggle. You're looking at 1080p medium, maybe high if you're lucky. The Last of Us Part 2 is even worse for lower-end hardware. The first game practically caused the VRAM panic when it launched, and the second game still needs 8 GB just for uncompromised 1080p. The Pro build can almost run it at 4K Ultra, hovering in the 50s, and with upscaling it, hits around 80 frames per second. The Steam machine doesn't stand a chance. Space Marine 2 is a heavy CPU load during swarm scenes. Even high-end processors can choke during the largest encounters. The X3D chip inside the Pro hits close to 100 frames when the GPU isn't the bottleneck, but the Steam machine's 6-core mobile chip will definitely drop frames in chaotic scenes. And then there's the multiplayer problem. Multiple online games, Marvel Rivals, Apex Legends, and Battlefield 6, didn't run on the Pro system at all. Not because of performance, but because of anti-cheat limitations on Linux. Valve desperately wants Battlefield 6 to work on their new hardware. But until major developers adopt anti-cheat systems compatible with Steam OS, the Steam machine will have a heavily limited multiplayer library. Now let's zoom out and look at the broader industry. Microsoft keeps burning customer goodwill. Apple still fundamentally misunderstands gaming as a medium. Nintendo is drifting toward copyright law as a business model. Nvidia is all in on inflating the AI bubble. AMD is holding on to relevance, mainly because Nvidia ignores gamers. Intel is being propped up by competitors to prevent collapse. And Sony, honestly, I'm not sure what Sony is doing anymore. The last major headline was the Concorde disaster. In a landscape where the pillars of gaming are starting to look like chalk, it's understandable that people latch onto Valve as the good one. They're not perfect. Their handling of Counter-Strike gambling was awful, but their recent hardware history is solid. The Steam Deck was great. The Steam machine concept is good. And Steam OS has real potential. But the new Steam machine is not enough for everyone. It can't be. Enthusiasts want control, they want better hardware, they want options, and they want a version of Steam OS made specifically for do-it-yourself builds. Something more flexible than the current options. Something not locked to Valve's preferred hardware choices. ByteSyzed OS is a step in that direction. It's fun to use and it shows what's possible when modders get involved. In an ideal world, Valve would embrace that community and release a DIY-friendly Steam OS with full hardware support. Maybe that will happen someday. Until then, we make our own Steam machines.